This video is going to be a huge in the bag. It's not necessarily going to be what I bag on one course, but these are going to be all of the discs that I bag, whether it's high elevation, low elevation, humid, warm weather, cold weather, wet or dry. Every single disc that I bag, as well as discs that are very specific to specific course designs or course conditions. So these are every single disc that I need for if I was traveling. I would bring all of these discs with me so that I can rotate some discs in and out of the bag per course. We've got a lot of discs here. Before I get into the mega bag, I'm going to get into my main bag that I actually can bring about 20 to 25 discs per course, that if I had to get rid of half of these discs, this is what I would bag in this single one. In total, I have 3 base plastic throwing putters, 2 premium plastic throwing putters, 3 approach putters, overstable, torque resistant, 3 mid-ranges, 3 slower fairways, 7 faster 9-speed fairways. I throw 9 speeds the most for any given course, so I have the most variety here. 1 forehand driver and 3 backhand distance drivers. That's a total of 25 discs in the entire all-purpose bag. And I've taken out these discs here are more course specific and weather specific. I got 4 utility discs, 2 drivers, 2 fast fairways, 5 slower fairways, and 5 mid-ranges, for a total of 18 discs that come in and out of the bag. These are 18 extras that I bag for different courses and weather conditions. For the main bag here, I have a soft understable approach disc, base plastic for the winter, tough. Sometimes I have an issue with the bead. It rolls off my finger poorly. I'm still looking for a throwing putter that flies like this, that is not beaded. P2. I've got a really nice straight putter, torque resistant. This is one of my main throwing putters that isn't even in my main bag currently because it gets wet and slippery in winter. And then a nice overstable torque resistant putter, the Lasso. This disc is a little bit flatter than my preference, and I haven't found a comfortable overstable throwing putter like this yet. For my approach discs, I've got a less glidey zone, a more glidey zone, and then a really overstable, trustworthy wind-fighting approach disc, A2. The A2 has the most amount of skip and the least amount of glide. However, if you put it in the air on a lot of spike, it'll actually dig in and have the least amount of skip, or even a reverse skip instead. And then I don't even need to tell you what a zone does. I never actually throw them backhand. I don't like how shallow and flat they are, but this is how they would fly. I've got a compass here. I'm still looking for a disc that flies in between this and a Buzz SS. Hyzer flip to turns, a more premium compass, straight to slightly overstable, and then a nice trustworthy. I trust myself to shank this every time unless I put it on hyzer. I think because of the way the wing is shaped, it just wants to release on hyzer. If you try and throw it flat, it kind of feels a little awkward and heavy in the hand, and it just wants to pull back into hyzer. Overstable mid, 3 mids. I've got 3 slow fairways, First one being the Explorer, my go-to hyzer flipped turn in a fairway. An Explorer beat into turnover. My Lux FD1. You cannot pry this disc out of my cold, dead hands. I won't even let it go, not even then. An FD1 and Lux Vapor beat in to fly pretty straight. Volt, it feels like it releases a little more nose up than I prefer because the disc has a flatter profile. And this is a placeholder for hopefully when I find a C-line FD1, now renamed FD2 soon, this will be my overstable thrower until then. I've got 3 sort of understable workable fairways, fast fairways here. A Saint, big turnovers. Saint being one of the only discs that I currently own I trust to rip out there on hyzer late turn and still have the integrity to come out of it. A Valkyrie, gentle turnovers, flex shots, get out of trouble shots. From when I was throwing about 100 feet at a time to over 500 feet, this disc is just permanently going to be in the bag forever. I think I lost the clip, but I also throw this forehand scramble for get out of trouble situations. And the Terra 80, when I need a PD that just flips a little bit more and pushes a little bit more. One of my go-to fairways. It's extremely workable. If I want to turn it over, I can. If I wanted to push it straight, I can. If I want to get it to hyzer out, I can. And then I've got a Phantom Sword, essentially a PD. I'm happy with this flight. Sometimes my PD doesn't push enough, but my Terra 80 pushes too much, so this sits nicely right in between. Nice overstable, workable disc like a Thunderbird, but feels better than a Thunderbird. If I want it to go a little shorter, fly like a Thunderbird, but go a little shorter. My Lone Howl PD, it's beaten to flip up while still having the end fade, reliable, except for in headwinds. C-Line Metal Flake PD. And then I got 2 overstable discs here, overstable fairways, the FD3. This is new to the bag, but when I need a Firebird that pushes slightly more, or a PD that I can trust in the wind, it's the FD3. Flat one, I made sure to get a flat one because most of them are domey. And then I've got a domey Firebird here. Kind of domey, but it's workable forehand and backhand. Nice utility disc. I have one forehand driver. My forehand isn't that great, so I tend to go with a beat up, understable driver. I can hyzer flip, and I rarely throw this backhand. Only for very specific shots. Super rare, but forehand hyzer flip to hyzer. This I can throw for overstable forehands or straight to understable or nose up flex backhands. This boss has just enough fade on it that I can push it out on a slight ante and get it to go about 5 to 530. This is my max distance driver. A workable, overstable destroyer I can push forward and have it reliably fade. A little less glidey. The sweet spot is about 430 to 470. Obviously I can't throw that far in this field right now because there's vents, but I can trust it forehand as well. And then this is starting to beat in a little bit more than I like, but it pushes a little forward for a force. This shot's going to get to the ground because they put it on hyzer and it's just holding that, but if I hit this flat, it'll hold that too. That's a total of 25 discs in the entire all-purpose bag. 80% of that bag is set. I'm happy with about 80% of it. I do feel I'm missing a nice overstable throwing fairway, like an FD1 slower fairway that I can punch out, bring stability in, as well as a nice under and overstable throwing putter. Other than that, that bag is pretty set, about 80%. There are a couple things that'll come in and out, and a couple things that will stay. Buzz SS, really rare that I need something like this. Runway, very useful for windy days or wide open courses. Chariot, it only took me a single day of throwing it to love it. If I could find one in grapey plastic for winter, that would be great. Sea-Line MD3, only good for dry weather. Comes out a little nose up hyzer. I can use that for placement, panning hyzers. Glow Crow, it's like a Chariot or an MD3 but more grippy. F5, reserved for turnovers, very specific shot shape, very flippy. A Sea-Line FD, this disc is sick. It goes wherever you tell it to go. The next video is going to be a die disc only challenge. 4 discs only. Check out what this disc can do then. Latitude 64 Glory, and this disc is surprisingly more overstable than you would think on hyzer, yet not very overstable when you hit it flat and hard. You can't actually drift this over. I feel that it flies like an eagle, but you can throw placement hyzers with it as well. Mostly an Arizona disc for me. The Hoya, one of my favorite / least favorite discs. It is not like a T-Bird at all. With the flight numbers of a T-Bird, it is a baby Firebird that doesn't go as far and glides even less. Another Arizona disc. The Nordic Phenom PD, a little more push, it's beaten in, comes in and out of the bag depending on the day and the course. Gravity Bomb doing gravity bomb things. A little bit more workable PD2. Machete, kind of like a hybrid between a Nuco S and Firebird. I'm sure I'll use it someday. I just haven't had the need yet. I get distracted by my own stomach rumbling and I shank the Nuco S. A stock Star Destroyer, and I'm just being real careful not to throw it over the fence, powering down on it. The Spice is more of a digging Firebird. Not much ground play. It only got this much ground play because it's a turf field. The Spice has a little less glide and a little more gumminess, so it sticks to the ground, whereas the Firebird pushed a little farther and skipped more. If I want a Firebird that hits and sits, which is pretty rare, but if I need that shot, it's a Spice. A pretty overstable boss for those windy days when you don't quite need a PD2 or Nuco S. And that's goal. The Star FD just barely misses the main bag. All this disc wants to do is just push straight. If you try to force it over, it forces way over. It's like my 6th time throwing that disc and I still can't get it to turn over. All that wants to do is just go straight. You hit it hard, it turns. You hit it a little high, a little nose up, it fades. Just a really straight disc. It seems the only way I can get this to fly with a nice soft turnover is to power up on it and then hyzer flip to late turn. Not fond of throwing this. Pretty good hyzer here, as you can see, and I get a slight turn out of it. It's just such a touchy disc. Alright, if I can't get this to finish with soft turn, not bagging it. Have to throw it with this exact amount of angle. Yeah, see, I have to power up on it way more. Post edit here, audio was too quiet, so just dubbing over it. If I hit it with 1 degree less hyzer, it turns way too much over. And if I hit it with 1 degree more hyzer, it just pushes straight instead. So it's such a fine amount of angle, and the wing on the disc is very symmetrical and even. There's not much concavity, or that's not really convex or concave. It just kind of gets on its angle and then goes. It doesn't have the ability to be understable and then overstable, which is kind of what you need to turn one over and push it. As for forehand, I can throw the ohm for touch-up shots, the A2 zone pyro, runway, FD1, volt, Terra 80, FD3 or flare skip firebird, hit and sit hyzer spice. I can brute force over on the force, boss. Okay. And I can just mash on the Nuke OS here and trust it to go nowhere. Perfect example of why I choose to flip up. If I try to throw anhyzers, sometimes I burn them over or get nose up here. I have a lot better control over those flip up hyzers. I'll do a follow-up part 2 showing all of the discs, the types of plastic, the amount of dome, and the flexibility and give to them, the parting line, the wing on them, the depth, why I throw some disc forehand and some disc backhand only, and why I chose specific plastics. So I'll do a follow-up video on part 2, and the parting line, the wing, how I like the wings for specific shots and shot shapes, forehand versus backhand. Till next time, time to go to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.